We're looking at a very critical issue affecting us within Nigeria, and that topic is peace. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, and other world leaders are set to storm Abuja to discuss the issue of peace and, of course, conflict management within the country. I'm not alone in the studio as usual. I have some of my usual suspects. Olive joins us. Good morning, Olive.
Good morning, Mr. Peter.
We also have...
Good morning, Mr. Peter.
Okay, that's a lot better now. We also have Oyekeke. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
So the past and present Nigerian leaders and some serving presidents of African states will soon converge in Abuja to discuss how to sustain harmony in the world, using religious leaders to preach peace and cordial coexistence across Nigeria. The event is slated to take place on Sunday, October 15 at the International Conference Center, FCT, and we'll have in attendance, hopefully, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, former Presidents Goodluck Jonathan, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, and other past and serving presidents of other African nations. According to the chairman of the National Planning Committee, Professor Obekwe Nwanoluwe, I hope I got that correctly, I apologize. The leaders will discuss the topic, the role of religious leaders in a developing country. And these are some of the highlights of events taking place so far. And we'll be expecting most of these activities to be unveiled to members of the public as they unfold. Let's start with Olive. What do you think about this? Is it a giant stride? Is it expected?
Yeah, actually, religion is takes a very special place in the hearts of millions of Africans, especially. And then even on this program, I've said it before that if we must achieve lasting peace in every part of the country, there is need to involve our religious leaders, because when you look at it, they are the ones who actually, in a way, control the minds of most of their followers. Apologize for the noise. They actually, in a way, control the minds of most of their followers. When they preach peace, the truth is people hear peace, and then because most of their followers tend to believe that whatever they say, because they have that kind of authority, that whatever they say actually is what is expected of them from their religious discipline, they tend to agree with them and they tend to do so. So I think it's a very commendable move. It will help to achieve lasting peace that we so much desire in this country at this period.
This is not the first time we're hearing about peace conferences and talks about the need to emphasize peace across Nigeria. We're being joined by Barrister Idris Bawa and Mr. Greg Williams. Welcome to the program.
My pleasure.
I didn't hear that very well. I think you should handle the mic. Let them hear your voice.
Yeah, good morning, listeners. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. Barrister Idris?
Good morning, Nigerians. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's always good to say good morning to Nigerians. Let them know that you have them at heart. But anyway, we've been talking about the need for peace. Oyekeke, you have something to say?
Yeah, because peace is very, very key to national development. Without peace, this meeting or this conference cannot ever be overemphasized, because without peace, there cannot be development. Without peace, there's nothing that we can do as a people. So when we hear what leaders coming together to talk about peace, to us, this is good news, because a country that is war-torn is a country that cannot move forward positively. So the idea is beautiful, and we should ensure that our religious leaders are very, very, very important as long as the issue of peace is concerned. on. So that's how it is.
We have a current vice president and two former presidents, Vice President Professor Yemi Oshibajo, former presidents Goodluck Jonathan and Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. Do you think that this meeting will make a greater development in the world of peace, Vice Idris?
I think this is most welcoming. The fact that we have elder statesmen being part of the process, I think is a very good one. The words of our elders are words of wisdom. The wise one hears and get wiser. So I think it's a very good thing for them to be involved in this process. I want to say again that the people who suffer most during violence should not be forgotten. I'm talking about the women. They are key. Because once there's violence, the one that suffers most, women and children. Please, government should involve them in this process. Because when we are talking about peace building, it should be holistic.
Mr. Greg, let's take a look at other facets of the problems in Nigeria. It's not just about peace. There should be an underlying problem somewhere. What are some of the causes that you have been able to identify? What are the reasons for some of the problems we're facing today in Nigeria? I know that we have massive unemployment, and that has led to using a lot of our youth by politicians to get engaged in unpeaceful activities, as a matter of fact, especially during elections. How do you see that playing a role?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I look at it from a very big picture, and I think we are obliterating, in fact, we are skipping the essential aspects, and we are going to talk about peace, and I fear we may not achieve an enduring one at the end of the day, because it is beyond discussion. There are fundamental things that needs to be looked at, to be put in place. First of all, the Bible had emphasized the need to restitute. Oftentimes, when you had wronged somebody, or you took somebody's belonging or his property, and then you have kept it in your house and you want to go and discuss peace, we should look at justice. We should look at the issue of poverty eradication. Because nobody likes to live a life of war or turbulence. There are factors that are responsible for all these unrests, and then once justice is established, everything will fall into place, as far as I'm concerned. So I think it is a need to look beyond the issue of this roundtable ceremony and the academics that we used to do all the time. Thank you.
Yeah, for me, Peter, I think let's look at peace building. The definition of peace building first. I think from there we can take it forward. Peace building is an intervention that is designed to prevent the start or resumption of violence, conflict, by creating a sustainable peace. Peace building activities addresses the root causes. I think we need to underline that. Root causes or potential causes of violence create a societal expectation for peaceful conflict resolution and stabilize society politically, and socio-economically. I think this is key. If you look at that definition, it's holistic. It's not just about looking at how to live together. What are the causes of violence in the society? If you want to do peace building, you need to pin down those causes, those underlying factors and all of that, and see how you can address them. You spoke about unemployment. Might be one cause where politicians use the unemployed youth to engage in conflict and all of that. But beyond that, we have other social vices. The religious group that have been brought to play part in this is one key example of how to deal with root causes. In one of our programs here, we spoke about how Boko Haram get the wrong information, wrong knowledge of Sharia and start interpreting it. So we need to create a narrative to deal with this kind of issue. And peace building is an aspect of creating a narrative that will deal with something like this.
We have two ex-presidents of Nigeria involved in this, and one would want to ask, what happened when you were president? What exactly did you do? Is this supposed to be a follow-up to their own achievements in the entire peace process, or is it just part of the political?
No, Peter. I think how do we look at it? I'll look at it from this angle, that yes, during their time we had some crisis and all of that. What lessons did they learn? How did they deal with it? Was it rightly or wrongly? What was the effect? Then we can learn from their own experiences. What went wrong? How did they manage it? Was it well managed? What were the defects in managing such process? It's about lesson learned. It's about sharing information. It's about learning and taking it forward from that angle. That is where I see it.
You want to share some of the skirmishes that we've had over time, Oikeke? I mean, let's take a look at Jos Plateau State. Part of the peace process started breaking down from Jos. It moved to Kaduna. It also happened in Bauchi, and then Benue. Where else again across Nigeria?
We had FM Abuja, we had Uguleri and Amoleri, we had the Jos crisis, a whole lot of them. I think in 2001 we had communal clashes. There were over 10 different parts of Nigeria. Some of them I took part in investigating. One of them, the Jos crisis, which you mentioned, and I can tell you a lot of things happened, and it came to the knowledge of people who are involved in this sector that before any of these crises occur, a week before that time, intelligence may have one or two information about things are going to happen. Some were nipped before they happen, some they couldn't. So it's about being preemptive. So I think our intelligence gathering, we need to do more. Before now, you see somebody at the motor park selling cola nut, selling pure water and all of that. He was an informant, maybe engaged, and once he hear anything about conflict, he will just alert government, this is about to happen, and we just come in there and nip it from the very beginning. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board, strategically. What are we doing when it comes to intelligence gathering? How do we get information? How do we disseminate information? Communication strategy is also key. If you look at what happened during 9/11 between FBI, the other group and all of that, one of them may have gotten information but they didn't share it. So there is need for constant re-engagement between intelligence agencies.
I'm wondering, because I had to mention all of that because I was worried about this whole roundtable kind of discussion for peace. Has it worked anywhere?
There's hardly any part of this country that has not witnessed conflict. There's hardly any part, of this country that has not witnessed any conflict. And along the line, we should identify those specific things that are causing the problems that we're causing. And the issue of bringing our religious leaders into it is still also a plus. And it's a plus because, most of the problems that we're having are coming out as a result of religious differences and ethnic differences. So if we have to tackle these problems, we need to bring these people in it. And especially because, because of our beliefs and because of our way of life, we believe and we trust so much our religious leaders. And whatever they say to us, we tend to believe. And so as a result of that, bringing them into this kind of discussion is very key in tackling the issue of conflict in our country.
Some communities have had to fight and fight until they got tired and they never fight again. It's just a self-realization that peace is just the in thing wherever you find yourself. But let's take a look at the role of the government in this, the building process for peace. I mean, you have the agencies, you have the DSS, you have the NIA, you have the military, the paramilitary as well. Just recently, the Peace Corps of Nigeria. These are agencies saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that peace is achieved in Nigeria. We still have a lot of these skirmishes, pockets of crisis here and there. what do you think would be the final solution by your assessment?
The truth is that it's unfortunate that by the end of the day, besides all the security agencies that we have in the country, we're still not there in terms of.
Greg, are they effective enough?
I mean, if you look at it, you still have issues, and you never can say. We at a point you don't even know what you can do, by the end of the day. So I think.
Well, it's okay. It's a different view from my point. It is not the fault of Nigerians that there's this distrust in government. There's been so much indiscipline at the high level, and that has encouraged this agitation. Unfortunately, this government that is in the saddle now inherited all of this, and from the first day, he's been on his toes, trying to make sure he achieved. It clears the audience table, so to say, because it's way back. If you think back, you hear Fela's songs. Virtually all of his songs are trying to expose the ills of society and all the negativities that governments usually would promote, the embezzlement, the corruption, and all that. So this government is trying to do that. Sometimes it goes to the extreme. Yeah, we should agree and admit that. But the other time too, it feels that prevention is better. Now, in the real picture, Nigerians owe this government the responsibility of trust. We should, first of all, promote the culture of discipline, which I think is lacking in the first instance. We want Nigeria to transform like America overnight, and we ourselves, the citizens, are not willing to do that which makes Nigeria get there. We think corruption is our birthright. We think coming to, as a civil servant, taking contracts and doing all kinds of illicit transaction, is still supposed to continue. And the new sheriff in town says, look, it's no longer business as usual. Unfortunately for him, he's not a grassroots Democrat that we used to know. He's a military man, and he's trying to conform with democratic requirements. So some of the times he overreacts. So I don't want to blame him for that, because the consequence of ignoring or following this British or American approach to democracy oftentimes will not favor us. So I think he has his own approach to doing things, and all he wants to achieve is, please be disciplined, give me a little more time, I will deliver to the best of my ability and walk away. So that's what I think.
Because I was actually getting to the role of the citizens in this. It's quite pathetic that you see a lot of, should I say, I wouldn't call them discrepancies, I would say intentional attempts at destabilizing some of the structures that we have and are managing. What exactly is your assessment, Olive, of what the citizens should do to encourage peace? I mean, peace is not just by the spelling of the word peace, P-E-A-C-E. It's a lot more than that.
I'll start by saying the very main challenge with facing peace in the country is the fact that the political, the elites try to sow a kind of seed of discourse using religion and tribe. And because now it's coming now to the citizens, I think the very thing every citizen should try to do is, I really like the fact that government is now trying to clamp down on perpetrators of hate speeches. I think the very first thing we should do as a nation is to, one, treat the person next to you as your neighbor, just like our big book keep telling us. There is really need for us to see ourselves as first Nigerians and love ourselves, see ourselves as one first, because it's not everything that government can do for us. When issues crop up, we should also tend towards dialogue instead of trying to put the law into our own hands and all that. I think the citizens really need to see themselves as one, and then always seek for dialogue when issues crop up, and don't take issues to your hands.
But what about the good governance requirements? When you have a hungry man, an unemployed man, somebody who has not seen food for days, somebody who cannot afford to go to hospitals, can't pay for school fees.
Yeah, but violence can never be a solution
but these
to
are
it.
some of the very
things that government really needs to tackle, but
that are responsible for some of the challenges that we're facing that led to lack of peace.
There is no doubt about that. But if you feel government fails in their responsibility to you as a citizen, I don't think taking up arm, I don't think violence is in any way can solve it. The best thing is for you to seek for ways to channel your grievances to the government. Seek for ways. And then, of course, government who have been saying this in the program, that there is need for government to really open up to dialogue and and all those things, and also seek for ways to at least look at the grievances and come up with measures to make sure that the citizens are pleased, and then the government is also not overstretched in a way.
Osinbajo, OBJ, that's former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former President Goodluck Jonathan, all to join other world leaders as they storm Abuja to discuss peace. Barrister Idris, before we take a break.
Yeah, Peter, just to say that every government has basic responsibilities. Duties to promote, duties to protect, and duty to fulfill. Promote human rights, respect human rights, and fulfill human rights obligations. What I think this group should look at first, let us look at Chapter 2 of the Constitution, which provides for directive, a principle, and state objective, all of that. If we can make that Chapter 2 justiciable, then the government can now sit down and start doing what we call progressive realization of rights. You talk about somebody on the street who doesn't have food and all of that. Then the government can provide social security in this regard. You look at issues surrounding health. You can hold government accountable, because when you discuss issue of right to life, which are under Chapter 4, and you look at right to health, which is under Chapter 2, what is different, for God's sake? Right to health is also right to life, because if I don't have a right to good health, then what are we talking about? I will lose my life. Right to development, good roads, potable drinking water, all of these are under Chapter 2, which can be translated to mean right to life in relation to Chapter 4. So what this group should look at, not just issue, because some of the things that causes conflict are issues bordering on fundamental human rights, which are now made under this Chapter 2 that I just spoke about. And under our laws, Section 6, subsection 6, paragraph C of the Constitution says you cannot take government to court on account of all of these socio, economic, cultural rights. And that is where the problem is. If you can challenge government on issue for your right to be gainfully employed, if you are not employed, government should provide social security to you. I think some of this conflict can be nipped from the very beginning.
Okay, so if you're just joining us, we're talking about the need for peace, as emphasized by the recent calls by organizers of an event which will be featuring two former presidents and the current vice president of Nigeria. We will take a very quick break if you're just listening. This is Human Rights Radio and it's X-Ray. When we come back, the Nigerian Labour Congress blows hot over new minimum wage and has revealed plans against the federal government. So we'll take a look at that. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Your right, my right, our right. Everybody's right is protected. Human Rights Radio 101.1, redefining broadcasting.
As the fourth estate of the realm, the media stands as the watchman of the nation. On Media Lab, we dissect the news items of the day through the men and women that bring the news to you to give you the full story. Media Lab, airing exclusively on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
This is Human Rights Radio 101.1. Redefining broadcasting.
In a world filled with questions, many were called, two were chosen. Reality comes to play. Stories are made. Moments when you feel the fever. 1 hour. Arguments. Controversies. Questions and answers. Tensions rising. And more arguments. One man. One woman. One show. X-Ray. X-Ray. Airing live on Human Rights Radio 101.1 Abuja. X-Ray. In a world.
X-Ray on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. We've been discussing very key and topical issues. The need for peace in Nigeria, as former President Goodluck Jonathan, Olusegun Obasanjo, and the current Vice President of Nigeria, Storm Abuja. Of course, the Vice President is already based in Abuja, to discuss the need for peace with other world leaders at the International Conference Center very soon. We'll be looking at something different now. The Nigeria Labour Congress has revealed that it plans to shut down Nigeria as soon as it can if the government does not fulfill its promise to implement the new minimum wage. Ayuba Wapa, the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, has declared that workers may shut down the country again if the government of Nigeria does not show seriousness to implementing the new minimum wage. Wapa said this on Monday in Abuja at a symposium with the theme Making Nigeria Work for the People, organized by the NLC to mark Nigeria's 57th Independence Day celebration. He also lamented that one of the problems facing Nigeria was the absence of good governance, and he said the crisis of good governance is exemplified by the massive corruption in our body politics. This in turn is responsible for the huge unemployment crisis, poor service delivery, and continuous absence of dividends of democracy for the majority of the people. And he also said that the latest manifestation of this is the refusal by a number of state governments to fulfill their elementary obligations to their workers by not paying salaries and pensions as at when due. So this is not new. We're used to hearing, we'll shut down the nation, we'll shut down the civil service and all of that. But it's a big problem, isn't it?
Peter, it is sad that we are hearing this at this particular period, given that one, the economy, our single line economy which we rely on, which is the oil, is not really appreciating in the world market. I don't know, the president said something, states cannot even pay what we are supposed to be paid now, which is the 18,000 naira minimum wage, and you are talking about increasing. Where and how do they think the state can pay?
Are you saying it's unrealistic?
It's not. This present dispensation is not. Let's be very honest about it, because we have states that are owing 6, 7, 8 months salaries. They can't pay 18,000 naira minimum wage, and now you want to increase it to how much, and you think they can pay? You just want to shut down the country. And because I don't know, why do we resort to this kind of, I gave an analysis yesterday. Our lecturers, They went on strike recently, shutting down universities and all of that. For God's sake, I have never, that is why you see in advanced country, you don't hear anything about lecturers going on strike. The universities, they manage themselves. They sustain themselves. How do they do that? Once a university is set up, the first 2 years, the government take whole responsibility of funding it. After 2 years, it drops down to 60%. Under 2 years, 40. Under 2 years, 20. Then the next year, zero allocation. The university has to fund itself. Professor who is a professor, you have to show that you are a professor in that field by doing something innovative, research work and all of that. Based on your income, what you bring to the university, that is how they pay you. If you don't have anything bringing in, the next 1 year, you are out in the street looking for jobs.
Your point exactly?
The point exactly is that we should look at better ways of addressing some of these issues. It's not sustainable as it is now.
To source for its own funding.
We have civil service organizations that are sourcing for fund. The NLC, what are they doing within themselves to ensure that money that has been stolen in this country are brought back? Don't you think they have the onus is on them to also investigate some of the allegations and assist the government to retrieve this money we are talking about? It's not about, for me it's just sheer blackmail, honestly. I don't see how they want this government to fund that kind of money when we are talking about no roads, infrastructural decay everywhere. We are talking about lack of food here and there. People can get salary of 18,000 naira. You want to increase it to maybe 54,000 naira. For God's sake, how do they want the government to, raise that kind of money? We need, when we are talking about planning, there's something we call progressive realization of rights. You need to progressively realize how you want to get to where you want to get to. Gradual process, by planning, by implementing your plan and all of that, you get to where you want to get to, not by this.
A 5-year review is supposed to be in place, and we are way behind in Nigeria's case. Every 5 years, there's supposed to be a review of the national minimum wage. That hasn't happened until now.
The last review was 18,000 naira. Am I correct?
Yes.
Then how much are we talking about now? 54,000 naira. Can you tell me the percentage?
Increase it to?
Can you tell me? I'm even talking about the 18,000 naira can be paid by some states. You are living witness where the federal government is now giving out bailout fund to states for them to pay for.
Of the NLC in this case.
It's all of us. We are in it together.
Responsible. They are partly responsible.
No, we are all in this together. It's our problem. We need to look for ways to dealing with this problem, Peter.
Greg, you think they're partly responsible in what sense?
It's a collective responsibility situation.
You need to.
If all we know is we just want to wake up and Nigeria is working, there's food on our table, we want to get water is running, what have we done? What is the role of what are the responsibilities of NLC in helping Nigeria achieve the sustainable development goals? Nobody could answer. What would NLC, point to as indicator of their contribution to the economic development? Everybody wants to milk. We want to get. We want to put in, and that's the first problem. The issue of this increment, of course, it doesn't make sense for now. You see, it's not all about, when we say human rights, everything is not, that's why God is not giving us all of those things to begin to blackmail him. He does what he pleases. The issue in Nigeria is simple. We need to, first of all, be alive to begin to make agitation and make requests. The situation we find ourselves now, every sincere-minded person knows that we need to give Nigeria some time to fully achieve and stabilize so that it can meet all of these obligations. We all see before now how our leaders were living. A governor could decide to go to Dubai and stay 2 weeks. The wife goes and buy gold and comes back, and they just take the wrong what do we call it, bonanza on Nigerians every day. They owe salary, they fix the money, anytime they like they pay. And we cannot continue, we can't grow like that. Before now it was established that the amount we spend importing rice, polished rice, 2.1 billion every month. 2.1 billion, and that has stopped now. You can't import again like you did before. You can't move money around like you do before. Let's be patient with the leadership. For me, I think it's the first serious.
Why I will agree with you both that it might not really be possible, this particular minimum wage, owing to the realities on ground. But I cannot help but wonder why we are discussing the inability of states to pay 18,000 naira minimum wage, especially since government. If government cannot pay that, I wonder why we have never discussed salaries of National Assembly members and politicians and all that. If we have no problem doing that, I think a lot of Nigerians are bothered to hear that we are still discussing the issue of 18,000 naira minimum wage and the fact that a lot of state government and even the federal government, or maybe and all that, are not able to pay that. Is there no need for us to actually review salaries of not just workers now, all workers in general, the politicians, civil servants and public servants as a whole? Is there no need for their salaries to be reviewed? Because it pains me when I hear that we are discussing 18,000 for someone who is putting in their best for the country, and they are not even able to pay that. It pains me really, and I think there is need for salaries of public office holders and all that to be reviewed.
Are we supposed to blame the NLC, in this case in Nigeria, the National Labour Congress, in a situation where they are seeing a lot of politicians spending?
That's what I want to say. I think one of the reasons why these agitations come is because the average civil servant sits down and then watches the orders, so to speak, taking jumbo salaries, living, very bogus lives, living large, and then by the end of the day, you expect that, a man or woman who has children, 2, 3, 4 in schools, food, housing, health, everything that they need should depend on 18,000 naira. When you see few individuals living very large, as in large indeed, so that's why this kind of agitations come up. And you don't blame them so much, because how does someone survive on 18,000 naira for a month? Even if you're just alone, you have to pay for everything that you need. But then the reality on ground is the issue, because if it's 18,000 naira and we cannot pay, is it when it's 50-something thousand naira that we can pay? So that's just the problem. We need to find a way forward, in between this.
So are we saying that if the government decides not to pay the amount and NLC shuts down the civil service, we don't have a choice but to remain the way we are?
No, Peter, I think
don't you think that the government should be able to do something?
Fortunately, we have a Minister of Labour and Productivity that is up and doing. That's Chris Ngige. He's been doing very well, managing all of this crisis. What I am saying, Peter, is there is no need for this, at least for now. Knowing full well that we can't even manage the 18,000 naira, knowing that we don't even have that kind of money to do what we are, what they want us to do. My colleague here raised one very vital issue: the political office holder, members of the National Assembly, and all of that. What has NLC done from day one that we started hearing how much they earn? What have they done to question the rationale behind what they earn? It's not about, putting government. For me, just like my colleague said, this is pure blackmail. They need to sit up, ask questions, and know what is happening to our budget. We have a budget that has been signed into law. NLC doesn't even know. They should be providing oversight function across board in every sphere of our lives.
Are you saying that it is only when it comes to salary issues that
is when you hear them?
And that's really bad?
It's bad. They should hold government accountable, because we are talking about state government not be able to pay salaries, and this state government were given some amount of money, bailout fund, by the federal government, and the NLC is telling us that they want to go on strike. What have they done to ask those state government, what have you done with this money? It's sad. They are supposed to be a watchdog to the entire society, watching over what government is doing and asking questions, not trying to cage government or trying to force them to blackmail them into agreeing in some sort of money that we know is not there.
Now let's take a look at their responsibilities in terms of cross-border responsibilities. Like you have said, you talked about ASU earlier on and the situation. We've never seen a situation where NLC has joined in with ASU, or NLC has taken up the responsibility of asking why the universities are in a state of what do I call it? Help me with the English.
Peter,
maybe
you see, the one of the challenges we have is our universities. We don't get involved into research anymore. I mentioned it yesterday. The first keke napep that I saw while I was growing up was manufactured by ABU Zaria. The granite pyramid we talked about some years ago, the seedlings that were used by farmers and all of that, the research was done by ABU Zaria. What is happening today with our universities? That even pencil, toothpick, we can't even say we are producing. For God's sake, what kind of education do you think we are actually building? In China, the 6334 system which you are talking about today, if you are in primary school 6 years, they know what you can, where your abilities are. The next 3 years, which is your junior secondary school, is either the person is doing something that relates to handwork, some kind of practical. That's where you see those who are involved in electronics, you see them doing all sorts of things. Some of the toys our children are using are made by people who are in either secondary school, students who are in secondary school, or those who are in primary school.
In some countries.
So our educational system, we should look at it and see how we can get ourselves out of this. It's a holistic problem, Peter, and we need to deal with it.
Do you see the NLC succeeding this time? They have tried over time and it just didn't work.
This is going to be a very tall one. I don't know how the federal government will agree to pay that kind of money for now. But I think they shouldn't shut down the economy of the country. They shouldn't shut the country down the way they are threatening. I think we should come to the table like we used to do and resolve this issue. Shutting down the economy at this point, it's not good. It's not what we need. What we need now is for all our hands to be on deck and ensure that we move the nation forward. So I think shutting the threat, I think shouldn't be carried out. But I don't think government will be able to come up with this kind of money for this time, considering our economic situation.
081 89 99 1011. The number again, 081 89 99 1011. That's the number you can call us up on and make your contributions known to Nigerians on Human Rights Radio 101.1. It's X-Ray, and we've been discussing topical and trending issues. First of all, we started with the issue of peace, and now we're taking a look at the issue of the Nigeria Labour Congress threatening the federal government to shut down the Nigerian economy. Let's start with this first caller. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning and welcome to the program. Is your radio set on? I would like for you to put it off, please.
Yeah, my name is Joseph.
Please put off your radio set.
Hello, my name is Joseph. I'm coming from Durham.
Yes, Joseph, you need to put off your radio set.
All right. I'm out of my radio. Hello.
I'm sorry, I have to cut you off. The rules are simple. Put off your radio set or step away from it as far as you can before you call the numbers. And make sure profanities are not included in your statements as well. Radio unfriendly words are not acceptable, please. Hello?
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to X-Ray.
Yes, my name is Ranzo, calling from Delhi.
You're welcome to the program. Go ahead.
Okay, this is the first time caller.
Okay, you're welcome. Please clap. Clap. Then clap for you.
The lady said that sometimes you're supposed to speak to the government politely that violence cannot solve issue. For me, violence can solve issue because if you are nobody in this country, nobody will listen to you. So how can you take the matter? So, except is violence sometimes.
No. That is, if I knew this was what you were going to say, I wouldn't even pick your call. You cannot resort to violence, and Human Rights Radio totally condemns the act of violence. We will never ever support that in any of our dealings. Please don't resort to violence. Hello?
Hello?
Kindly put off your radio set, will you?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, my name is Abdul, calling from Bali.
You're welcome to the program.
Yeah, concerning the labor matter. The way I look at it, in fact, labor they should just rest for now. Because the country, we are trying to build a better nation. I think to me, we should allow government to build the nation and see how it's going to go.
Hello?
Yes.
Because they are not working in the interest of the workers.
You think so?
I remember 2015, before the salary review issue comes up, they have already increased their this thing, union G. We were paying 600 naira before the minute, it was raised to 1,000 naira. Without a new explanation was due.
Maybe because
so they are just working for themselves. That is when they are looking at it.
From 500 naira to 1,000 naira as dues. Maybe that's why they need an increase for workers as well. Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. My name is Faith.
Faith, you're welcome to X-Ray.
Okay, I'm calling from Wisconsin.
Welcome. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to make a little contribution.
All right, go ahead.
The union, for now, they should hold their peace. They should break. They shouldn't go on any strike. They should rather look to those states that are owing their workers more. They should know how to talk to them so that they can pay. Therefore, the minimum wage increase, they should hold on because Nigeria, we are not even settled for now. You understand? And the majority of the masses are suffering, is not only the workers. What about the people that are not doing government jobs? Who is going to pay them? If they are just talking about workers, they should just hold it for now. Maybe when we got out of all our problems, we can now discuss that issue. We don't discuss problem with problems. You understand? So they should hold on. As for the peace summit that is coming up, it's a welcome development. We want peace in Nigeria.
Okay.
So that all of us can live together.
Okay.
And work as one country and move forward. So that we will be where we're supposed to be. Not every day, one problem, one talk. Okay. Thank you, well done. I agree with you.
Thank you very much. It's not tired. All right, let's go to another line before we go back to our panelists in the studio this morning. If you're just joining us, this is X-Ray, and it's coming to you live on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning and welcome to X-Ray.
My name is Mubarak. I'm calling from London.
Oh, Mubarak. Yesterday you called us and something happened to the network. We apologize for that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to make a little looking at how things yes, need to go another time I need the family of the living lady in order to protect those people they are taking, they are looking something to say.
I'm sorry, I had to cut you off again today. We're just not getting a proper signal from you. But let's go back to our panelists. Final comments before we wrap off. Let's start with Greg.
Well, thank you. What I have to say is just that we must remember when we say Rome was not built in a day, it is because Rome was being built every day. Let us join hands together and build a better nation for our children and generations yet unborn.
Okay.
Peace is the way forward. And one of the ways that we can achieve peace is if we can love one another, shun ethnic, despite our ethnic differences, religious differences, our beliefs, we accept each other as one, I think peace will be achieved.
Olive has been quiet for a while. Maybe you people were just doing minimum wage things for her. Go ahead.
Okay, let's work together to ensure the unity of the country.
All right.
I mean, peace is the best option. We cannot achieve much. We cannot even achieve anything with violence. Peace is the way to go. Let's work together as one.
And it's not just the best option, it is the only option. It is the only option. Barrister Idris.
Yeah, for me, I want to say that what the Vice President is doing is a great one, because every relationship that works, it takes the parties involved to making it work. And the way we make it work is by talking with each other, not talking to each other. And I hope this conference will be a way of us talking with each other to understanding how to build Nigeria forward.
Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM is the station, and the program is X-Ray. We actually take a closer introspection of ourselves before we come on the show. We ask ourselves, is this the right thing to do? Is peace the way to go? Yes, we amongst ourselves have agreed that peace is the way to go, and we preach that to you on behalf of our mandate. Our mandate preaches peace, and we are here to unite Nigeria, believing that Nigeria will be greater than any nation in the nearest future. Believe in the One Nigeria project, and don't forget, you can always join us all through our programming. Tomorrow we'll continue from 9 o'clock and down till Saturday. Have a great time. My name is Peter. Bye-bye.